I'm deeply impressed and very privileged to be talking to you today. My good friend Bjorn Hogland has told me that there are going to be about 7,000 youth. Now that's a massive number. That's going to be focusing on problems with the oceans, the use of renewable energy, and overall how to bring about sustainable development. And this, I think, is an excellent sign, because having worked on climate change and issues of sustainable development for 30 years now, I have realized over a period of time that the only way we can bring about change is to mobilize the youth of the world. There are 1.8 billion youngsters between the ages of 10 and 24 who can really be the motive force for bringing about change. So I'm delighted that all of you are together. I might tell you that just last week I organized the World Sustainable Development Forum in Mexico City, where we had the leading lights and some of the brightest minds from all over the world to talk about what needs to be done for implementing the Paris Agreement on climate change and the Sustainable Development Goals. What was the highlight of that particular event was the fact that we had a session right at the end called the Impending Youthquake. Youthquake is a word that has been developed and has been treated as the word of the year by the Oxford Dictionary. And I think what we really need is a cataclysmic shift. What we need is a youthquake to bring about change. And I think it's for you to take the initiative and take the lead. Because I'm afraid people who are in their 50s, 60s or older years are not going to bring about change. What we need is a complete change in value systems, in practices, which has to be driven by knowledge. And that's why I launched 2 years ago the POC movement, which stands for Protecting Our Planet, because I believe it is the youth of the world, and the POC movement is directed at them to make sure that you take the lead, you assume a leadership position. Because I think if educational institutions can become centers of knowledge and action on climate change, on sustainable development, then not only will this spread through the community, but it will also ensure that when you talk to your parents and you talk to the friends of your parents, you will be able to influence them to move in the right direction. So it's a privilege for me, it's a unique opportunity to talk to such a large number of motivated students, and I hope you can bring about change. Our oceans require this kind of change. You know, there's a place called Henderson Island in the Pacific, which is supposed to be a World Heritage Site, and it gets millions of tons of waste, including plastic. If you look at the guts of marine species and fish all over the world, they are ingesting more and more plastic, more and more waste. And that clearly means that some species are going to vanish. They are certainly threatened, and we cannot allow that to happen. This will also have major economic implications, because after all, if fish stock die, then clearly hundreds of millions of people will not be able to get their livelihoods, and they will not be able to get the kind of nutrition that they've been getting from the oceans. And in the case of fossil fuels, I can spend a lot of time telling you why it's absolutely essential and urgent to move from fossil fuels to renewable sources of energy. Because this is required not only to make sure that everybody has energy access. There are 1.3 billion people in the world who have no access to electricity today. And the only way, in my view, that they can get electricity into their homes is through the use of renewable energy on a decentralized basis. But more than that, it is crucially important that we reduce the emissions of carbon dioxide, and therefore renewable energy is the only means by which we can bring about a rapid shift from fossil fuels to renewables. And today the cost improvements as far as renewables are concerned is so attractive that you don't even have to subsidize renewable sources of energy. unfortunately, we're still subsidizing fossil fuels in several parts of the world. And to my mind, that is totally counterproductive. So, without going too far into the details of what needs to be done, I leave it to you. I leave it to your ingenuity and to make sure that all of you join hands and bring about change in the direction of sustainability. I wish you Godspeed. I wish you all the best, and I hope I would have an opportunity to talk to you in person, because to my mind, that's really the most satisfying experience I can get. I've been talking to students and youngsters all over the world, and I've decided I'm going to devote the rest of my life only to making sure that youngsters set the pace and set a new direction, because that is where hope lies. In the absence of the youth taking the lead, I'm afraid we will be moving on an unsustainable path of development, and we've had enough of that. So time is up. Let's move on. Let's create a sustainable planet. Let's create a more sustainable future for humanity. And you are the ones who are going to do that. I wish you all the best. Take care.